Hi there. It's May the 18th and we're continuing our progress through the book of 1 Samuel, and today we're in 1 Samuel 22 and 23. Now we saw that David, in this cat and mouse game with him and Saul that is going on, David had fled to the king of Gath of the Philistines. Now he takes refuge in a cave in a place called Adullam, and many people come to him there, particularly many malcontents, those who are unhappy and those who are supporting David. His brothers are there with him as well as some of his family, and David becomes their leader. About 400 people gather to him there. But then maybe he takes fright and he moves right out of Judah and he goes across the Dead Sea, goes over the other side, the east, away from Judah, and he goes to Moab and asks the king of Moab for asylum, again for himself and for his family. But the prophet Gad comes to him and says, no, don't come over here to Moab. You don't put yourself into a stronghold here. Go back into Judah. And so he goes back to the forest of Haret. Now, in all this movement going on, Saul is getting more and more frustrated. In fact, he says to his leading nobles and his leading captains, he says, look, I've given you all this supply, I've made you leaders, I've given you vineyards, I've given you possessions, and actually none of you are faithful to me. In fact, you're making plots against me, and you're making plots with David. Maybe he's got wind of the fact of the closeness of Jonathan and David to each other, and in his appeal, in Saul's appeal to pay him back for this and to give him some information, Doeg the Edomite, who has actually witnessed David going to the priest at Nov, to Ahimelech at Nov, and being given bread and being given Goliath's sword, he tells Saul that this is what's happened, and Saul calls for Ahimelech to come, the priest to come, and questions him about what he's done and why has he helped David when he's the king's enemy. Ahimelech protests David's innocence, as if David has not meant any harm to the king. But Saul then decides to do a terrible thing. Because of what he sees as Ahimelech's treason, he kills Ahimelech, not only Ahimelech, but he kills 85 in his priestly family. And only one manages to escape, Abiathar. And Abiathar escapes and flees to where David is and joins up with David. And David is so sad, so distressed that his actions have had this terrible effect on the priestly family. And he asks Abiathar to stay with him and to be his priest. So on into chapter 23, David, even though he's being pursued by Saul, is still anxious to keep Israel free of the Philistines. And so he, when he hears that the town of Keilah is under attack by the Philistines who are coming to destroy the crops there, he sets out with a band and he goes to the city of Keilah. But actually, when he inquires of the Lord, and this is a key thing here in these chapters, David inquires of God what he should do in each situation. When he inquires of the Lord, he discerns that the people of Keilah are going to betray him to Saul if he stays there. And so he moves from Keilah and he goes further into Judah, into the forest of Ziph. And he's there in Ziph, and he's because he's discerned that if he stays in Keilah, it's going to be a dangerous place for him. While he's in Ziph, Prince Jonathan actually comes. Remember this covenant that they have between them, this bond, this loving friendship that is between them. And Jonathan comes to David and seeks him out and says, look, even my father knows that you're going to be the king. And he encourages him there, and David is grateful for his coming. But then the people of Ziph go up and tell King Saul that David is hiding in their territory. And so David has to move again. He has to flee to a place called Maon. And in Maon, this end of chapter 23 is perhaps the nearest that David comes to being captured by Saul. It says that they're two sides of a hill, and Saul's army is one side and David's band is the other, and they come very close together. But just as Saul is about to close in on David, Saul hears that the Philistines are attacking and he gets called away to lead that campaign, and David manages to escape down to the coast of the Dead Sea, down to the coast of the Dead Sea at En Gedi, and makes his camp there. It must have been a terribly stressful time for David, a time of being chased from here to there all the time. Some of the Psalms, I'm sure, that would have been written at this time about being pursued by enemies and where is God and where is God's deliverance. But he says, I will trust in you, I will continually trust in you. And this is the thing that we pick up about David in these chapters, that he's keeping close to God, even though he's being pursued, even though he is in a really persecuted situation. He doesn't let go of God. He doesn't let go of seeking God's word, seeking God's insight. May that be something that we also pursue in our own lives, always listening to the Lord's input. Have a very good May the 18th.